All right, so if you own an EV, if you're curious about an EV or anything like that, you've landed on the right video. See, what has happened is back in the day, like before Trump got elected, when the government was going to force us into EVs, there was basically two camps. People that were pro-EV and people that were against EV. So the people that were against EV was all negative stuff, and the people that were pro-EV, it was all positive stuff. And you really couldn't get a good balance in videos. But you know what? We're not being forced to buy EVs anymore, so I don't really care. I don't have a dog in the fight because that doesn't matter to me. So we're going to go over the realistic pros and cons when it comes to safety with an EV. What are we actually looking at? So today's video is going to be talking about fires, what's actually included with them. Are they really that bad? The fire location, safety risk when parked, going over the stuff that actually matters to you if you were to legitimately own a EV. Now, first things first, per 100,000 vehicles, there's only 25,000 or only 25 fires per EVs. With gas vehicles, there's 1,500 per 100,000 vehicles. So that means that EVs have substantially less fires. Now understand, EVs are new. This 1,500 vehicles per 100,000 gas vehicles, that includes the old farm vehicles that haven't been properly maintained since, the Great Depression? They've been dripping gas out of the carburetor for like the past 10 years. It's just actually a wonder why all those mouse nests and stuff have just now started on fire. So as EVs age, their fire count per 100,000 are going to go up exponentially. But they're all brand new. Every vehicle that's on the road right now is basically brand new. So, yeah, that's a skewed fact. So when people talk about that, take that with a grain of salt. Yes, gas vehicles do have more fires right now. Wait till the EVs they age 20, 30, or even 50 years old, and then we'll see what the numbers look like. EVs catch fires less often. A lot of data presents 20 to 80 times less risk. Again, all those vehicles are brand new, and they're comparing this data. This isn't like 1,500 modern vehicles. This is 1,500 vehicles completely, and there's millions and millions of gas engine vehicles that have been ridiculously properly not maintained, have mouse nests on top of the exhaust, a whole bunch of fire hazards all over them. Let the EVs age, and we'll see what those studies show then. Hybrids sometimes have a higher risk than normal EVs. Fires are rising more in EVs as they age on the road longer. I've been talking about that. Media does love showing the fires on an EV just because the fires are so dramatic and they don't happen quite as often, so it becomes a big thing. Now, it's a little bit more rare because we're not being pushed into EVs. People were terrified about EVs just a little bit ago when they knew they had to buy one by 2030? Yeah, that really sucked. So we're really looking at the stuff. Bottom line, rare does not mean less dangerous or not needing to worry about it. So what EVs happen is the thermal runaway. The big danger is what'll happen is one cell will get damaged, overloaded, overcharged. It'll have that popcorn sound, and it will just go right down the line and have a runaway catching the neighbor cell on fire, overheating the neighbor cell, like pop, 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 and then the whole thing just goes up in flames. This can happen completely by itself. It can happen from crash damage, manufacturer defects, overcharge, or just spontaneously. It can just happen for no reason whatsoever. Now the fire temperature, this is a big deal. So an EV temperature with a runaway fire, you're looking at between 1,200 degrees to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That is extreme temperature that will literally melt everything. I don't think there's any metal on a car that can survive 5,000 degrees. The whole thing is going to be puddled. Now, a gasoline fire, you're going to be looking at between 600 degrees to 1,500 degrees. So the hottest gasoline fire is barely at the lowest EV temperature fire. That's how much of a difference we have here. Again, I was talking about the popcorn sound. If an EV car starts sounding like popcorn, run. Get the hell away from it as fast as you possibly can. Because this can happen while it's parked. This can happen when it's not being charged. This can happen days, weekends, late at night, 3 in the morning. That's the real scary thing about EVs, and that's why it freaks a lot of people out, to be honest. And the thing is, this can happen in your garage while you're sleeping in the middle of the night. Because a gas engine, I talk about this later in the slide, but they get safe when you park them. EVs do not. The location matters. So with a gas engine, you have a fuel tank or an engine. That's where your fires are going to be. It's going to be in the front of the car or the back of the car, separated by a firewall. Now, is that a true firewall, or is that just the name of it? It's just the name of it. But at a 600-degree fire, that is sufficient to protect you for a significant amount of time. The passengers are shielded from the flames. Typically what's going to happen is like, oh, I have flames coming out of my hood, so I get out of my car, I go to the back seat, I grab my kid out of the car seat, and then we go sit in the ditch and wait for the fire truck to show up. Or if I have a fire extinguisher, I quickly put it out. EV fuel tank, that's a totally different story because that's underneath the passenger vehicle. So the flames are going to come completely upward into the passenger compartment, licking over the doors, surrounding the cabin. Not good at all. This is what a vehicle looks like for a gas engine. You got your fuel here and your fuel source here. Yes, there's the lines in between there, but there's not very much there. It is possible to have fuel drip underneath, but again, usually you'd be moving, so that's not going to really be an issue until you're parked. And if you're parked, well, the temperature of the car is going to get reduced and it's not likely to start on fire. EV, this is your fuel source. This is literally where the people are sitting, is directly on top of the fuel. And this is where it gets scary. So if a fire occurs in a gasoline engine, like I was saying, typically you'll see the flames coming out of the front, or you'll see the flames coming out of the back, or if you have flames underneath, you pull the car forward and you get away from it. You get your people out of the car. Not a big deal. In EV fire, that's not the case. That's going to be directly underneath, and a lot of those EV cars have electronic door handles. Yes, there are manual releases, but do you know where the manual releases are? Have you ever used the manual releases? Could you use the manual release when your hand's on fire? So let's pretend you have a kid in the back seat. The cabin is quickly filling full of smoke, toxic gases, and there's flames literally going past the windows. You have to get out of your vehicle, walk through this 1,500 to 5,000 degree flame, go to the back door, reach in through this 1,500 to 5,000 degree flame, climb through that, get your kid out of the car seat, then you and your kid have to go back through this 1,500 to 5,000 degree flame. That is absolutely terrifying. And we're not going to talk about any specific cases because it's really dark. But yeah, people get burned alive. It is awful. Because again, you're sitting on top of the fuel source. The only place a fire is going to be in an EV car is directly underneath you. Filling the cabin, completely cooking the cabin. Not cool at all. And again, when you crash and the power fails, well, your doors aren't going to work, your windows aren't going to work. Not cool at all. This is what an EV car typically looks like when they catch on fire. There is nothing left, and everything is molten metal because the fire is just so hot. All right, now parking behavior. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So the second you shut off your gasoline engine, it immediately becomes safer than it was a second ago. And then the next second, it's a little bit safer. And then the next second, it's a little bit safer. And it continues to get safer and safer and safer the longer it's parked. EV is the exact opposite. You plug in your EV into your garage, you pull it in there, you plug it in. Every second it's a little bit more dangerous because it's just storing up energy. It's building up heat. So every second your EV is plugged in is dangerous, more dangerous than the last second it was plugged in. At any time, an EV can just touch off and go. A gasoline engine, you could, in my head, or I don't have a problem with it, I can park my gasoline vehicle in the garage and I can go to sleep and not worry about a fire hazard. I'm not worried about waking up in the middle of the night and finding out my car caught on fire and then set my house on fire. Because I know that the fire is more likely to happen when the vehicle is running. And every second when the heat dissipates and it gets colder and colder and colder, even if gas poured out all over the floor, without a heat source, it's not going to catch on fire. An EV has its own heat source. Yeah, they can just go up and they can burn buildings down. They get more dangerous. That's why it is strongly recommended you do not park an EV vehicle in your garage, especially if it's attached, and you keep that away from all structures. So if it catches up and goes, it only destroys the car and doesn't kill a bunch of people. All right, so EV fires, those are a little bit different because they're hard to extinguish. A gasoline fire can easily be extinguished with normal water and or foam. Yes, normal water isn't ideal, but it does work. EV is very difficult to extinguish. You're going to need massive amounts of water. They're saying between 20,000 and 40,000 gallons of water. Typically what they do is just let it burn because it's going to keep going up. It's going to keep reigniting. Just let it burn. can burn literally for hours or days later after the fire's been long put out. It just starts burning again. So typically when there's an EV fire, the firefighters have to tow the car away to a safe area where it can start back on fire, because it's very common. You put out the EV and then it starts back on fire again. Gasoline, again, as I was saying, once you get rid of the heat, gasoline requires a heat source to burn. Get rid of the heat and then there is no fire danger anymore. EVs are very volatile, not good at all. Again, gasoline engines, normal water can put them out. Foam is ideal. All right, so data shows that yes, there are fewer EV fires, but the data is extremely skewed because all the EVs on the road are brand new. So brand new EVs, there's 25 per 100,000. Every car made since 1900 whatever that the first car came out has 1,500 per 100,000. Will that ultimately change? Probably. We will definitely see those numbers significantly climb over the next 10, maybe 20, maybe 30 years. And no, I'm not trying to fear-monger. Again, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not an EV fan. These are my reasons why, but I don't care because I don't have to buy one. I'm just putting out this information so you guys can make an educated guess. Now, would I ever buy an EV, period? As a personal vehicle, like maybe a motorcycle or a passenger car that only I'm going to be in, or maybe an adult with me, yes, I don't mind it that much. I'm willing to accept that risk. As a family vehicle, absolutely not. I would not, 100% not, have a kid in a car seat in the back of an EV. They just don't have a fire suppression system. You can't put that fire out. The fire is so incredibly high. The fire comes directly underneath where the kid would be. Do I want my kid slow cooked in the back seat? Absolutely not. I want a chance, a realistic chance to be able to try to save them. Does that mean that a gas engine is going to never in 100 million years or any combination of circumstances not do something similar? No. People can definitely still get burnt alive in a gas engine. But like I said, it's the heat intensity and the heat location that's the problem. So, as myself, I could accept that risk. As a family vehicle, no, I could not. I would not buy an EV as a family vehicle. Absolutely not. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching my video. If you'd like to help support the channel, click on the Amazon affiliate link in the description. Even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it and doing the Amazon shopping you were literally already going to do anyway, I'll kick back for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.